Hi, I'm Alana Shu. Today we're just going to have some Q&A about teaching philosophy, what it's like to be in a classroom, and ultimately how I believe that a classroom should be run. I could talk to you about my degrees and schools, but I think that you'll find this story much more interesting and relevant to our conversation. The first note a teacher ever sent home to my parents was my first grade teacher, Miss Hampton. She wrote a note that I actually still have today, and it says, Alana's too helpful, and I'm afraid she's trying to put me out of a job. My teacher and my parents had to actually sit down with me and clarify that my role was that of the student and Miss Hampton's was that of the teacher. I also had to have a parent-teacher conference when I was in second grade with my teacher, Mrs. Green. Um, exact same reason. She was the teacher, I was the student. Finally, by the time I reached the third grade, I didn't have to have that conversation. So I guess I must have learned my lesson. But in all honesty, I believe that the line between teacher and student is very blurry at best. Bilbo Baggins from The Lord of the Rings once said, "The road goes ever on, and I must follow if I can." In every position I have held in my life, I ended up teaching in one way or another. Whether I was actually a teacher's assistant in my undergraduate studies, I was a barista and a learning coach at Starbucks that trained new hires, or I was a medical technologist in a microbiology lab at a hospital. When I learn information, it wells up like a fire in my bones and I cannot keep it contained. And so when I get information, I have to share it. I have to tell everything I know to help people. I feel compelled to teach and I have absolutely no other choice. And so what makes me want to teach is the fact that I have to teach. And no matter what I do, I end up teaching, training, helping, offering information. So why not just do it as a living and get to have fun every day and love what I do? I have three rules in my classroom. First, my classroom is firm, it's fair, and it's fun. I have high standards for anyone that walks in my door because I know that they can measure up to them. Uh, Second, my classroom is fair. Favoritism is not found in my classroom because no one is more special than anyone else. Now, I will change lesson plans and activities to better suit an individual's capabilities, but I believe in being fair to everyone. Finally, an environment that's best suited for learning has to be fun. I mean, who wants to sit in a classroom with that's boring with no interaction? Nobody. And so we need to make it fun, exciting, engaging, and applicable to the real world. That's what is going to help students learn, and not only learn, but actually retain the information. Learning takes place everywhere. Learning should not and does not stop just because an individual leaves the formal learning setting. Most people think of learning as a boring, monotonous, and dreary lecture that you hear while sitting at an uncomfortable desk and doodling notes on your notepad. Um, but we actually learn all the time. I mean, when was the last time that you got a new phone? Or the last time you got a new app for your phone? Have you ever watched a YouTube video to figure out how to fix your sink or change your oil? Have you ever had to find a way to navigate a new software at work? We learn all the time, everywhere, whether it's formal or informal, and we're learning even when we don't realize it. I hope that they know that it's okay to ask questions. In fact, it's more than okay to ask questions. Questions are what make the world go round. I hope that they realize that their personal and professional experience matters both inside and outside the classroom. I hope they find ways to really connect with the material and apply it to their lives. When I taught algebra, every year I would have at least one student ask, When will I ever have to use the Pythagorean theorem in the real world? And every year my answer was the same. It's not about learning the Pythagorean theorem. It's about learning how to learn. Because throughout all of life, we are required to learn. And even if you never use Pythagorean's theorem once you leave my classroom, I want you to know how to take information that's given to you, make sense of it, and apply it. And ultimately, that's what I want learners to know, is I want them to learn how to learn and how to utilize their experiences to help them be successful in the future. Ultimately, my role as a teacher is to be a facilitator. I am not the only fount of knowledge, whether it's inside the classroom or outside the classroom. I believe it's important for teachers to realize, understand, and acknowledge that we do not have all of the answers. We never will, and that is perfectly okay. Because the students and learners in our classroom are going to bring their own knowledge and experience into the learning environment with them. I believe in utilizing that knowledge and experience to further comprehension and understanding. Again, I am simply one person in the learning environment, and I'm, as the facilitator and teacher, helping learn the way. Obviously, their learning did not start with me, and I surely hope it doesn't end with me. And as I said before, the line between the role of student and teacher is blurred at best. Students in my classroom have a responsibility to be an active participant in the learning environment. Yes, I facilitate discussion as a teacher, but sometimes the students facilitate on their own. Sometimes they take the lead and I just walk with them as they go along. And ultimately, that's what I'm going for. When I was a private tutor, I told my students, if I'm good at my job, I'm going to put myself out of a job. Because they should, hopefully, become more and more independent and self-directed learners, which means that they should need a guide or a facilitator or a teacher less and less. So in the end, my role as a teacher is to make myself obsolete. Ultimately, teachers should interact with students with respect. As teachers, we need to realize that students and learners are real people with real concerns and reasons for being in the classroom. Teachers should learn to embrace questions and initiate and continue critical thinking. Most importantly, never give up on students. Find ways to engage them, and whatever you do, do not discourage their learning. Don't be cynical or spiteful for whatever reason. I'll close with a quote from one of my favorite poems. Sam Walter Foss once penned, "Let me live in a house by the side of the road where the race of men go by. They are good, they are bad, they are weak, they are strong, wise, foolish, so am I. Then why should I sit in the scorner's seat or hurl the cynic's ban? Let me live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend to man." Ultimately, I believe that's how everyone should interact with everyone. Um, be helpful and generous and kind to everyone you meet in every encounter and interaction that you have. I don't think that that's limited to just inside the classroom. I believe in living in my house by the side of the road and being a friend to man. Ultimately, that's why I'm a teacher and that's why I love what I do. Okay, thank you all for your questions. I've really enjoyed being here today and just kind of sharing how I feel about the classroom and how I feel that as a teacher we can best impact students and what that philosophy looks like. Again, if you have any further questions, feel free to come talk to me. Until then, have a blessed day. Thanks.